So I thought I'd be done yesterday, and I looked at the epoxy tips, and yeah, there were bumps in it, but I expected that. And what I had done was I took my chisel and shaved it down. It still needs to be sanded, but I got a lot of the lumps out. However, the actual tips are still a little thin. I had applied a lot to that on the very first application, but I sanded too much off. So I missed that when I was epoxying yesterday. So I will mix up some more epoxy. I'll do just the tips and part of one of the faces where it looks a little thin. I'll pause here for a second. I'll show you some stills of the tips so you can see what I'm talking about. Then I get to work. Okay, let's mix up the epoxy. Certainly not going to need 17 millimeters, grams, whatever, but we'll see what it does. Oh, yeah. And I forgot last time to stir slowly, and I'll do slowly this time because I got air bubbles last time. And I can see at least one of them was popped. I want to try and fill that in. We'll see how it goes. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Counting down.
And the 2 minutes is up. Add some of the dye. I shook it before the video. Now the dreaded thickener. Still getting lumps. So that's probably just about perfect if I was doing the flat part of the paddle. I'd like it to be thicker since I'll be working on the tips, but I don't know how much time that took. It was probably 10 minutes. I only got 30 minutes working time. The consistency is perfect. I don't know if you noticed near the end, I was not caring about the lumps so much. As the lumps fell in, I just was breaking them up by tapping vertically on them, and that seemed to work really well. I guess I'll just do the tips now and turn it every probably 2 or 3 minutes for the next half hour, which will be boring, but it should work. So this part right here is kind of thin also. I can see the cedar through it. That side looks fine. So I'm going to work on here, here, here definitely, and I might as well go here also. See how it goes. That might be too thick. I just want a soft level. That's what sanding's for, right? I'm resigned to more sanding. You might think that looks like crap right there, and it does, but I know that when it hardens, I'll be able to get it out with the chisel, much like all these bumps there. You can see it dripping off the tips. I knew it'd be doing that. As long as some sticks were good. That's how much dripped. Let's just spread that out. Look how it is. So I have this 24-hour set epoxy, which I'm really happy about, but I'm not happy now because doing the tips is hard. I'm not sure. Doing it vertically might work. I could probably do the edges by doing this and coming back and coming back. But boy, that really is going to need turning, isn't it? Wow. There's going to be a lot of turning today. Look at that already. This side is really fine, except for right there, this side, right there. I was over enthusiastic when sanding. Gotta be careful about touching the paddle now. I'm pretty much done with the epoxy now, but I'm going to sit out here for the next half hour, flipping pretty much constantly. You can see here how it's doing it. I've also taken my gloves off so I don't get the epoxy onto it. It's dripping still. Time to turn. See? Got to do that. Probably shouldn't have taken the gloves off, huh? I've been flipping this every minute for the past 20 minutes or so. Yeah, it's pretty boring. You can see how there's still ridges here, but it's flowing. I'll just let the camera run for the next minute. You can see how it has flattened some. That's what the other side looks like. And it's bumpy here. We'll let that go for a minute. Again, you can see how it has flattened out significantly. We'll keep on doing this until it stops flowing. And I will see some lumps there, and I'll just chisel them off when it's done. But no point in filming the whole thing, is there? So I've been flipping this initially every 60 seconds, then every 90 seconds for about 20-25 minutes now. And the point is, how do you know when you're done? And we got a flip coming up in 30 seconds, and you'll be able to see how I know. We can see that there's still a ridge here, and there'll be a ridge on the bottom when I flip it. And what I'm going to do is compare the two ridges visually, and if they look the same, then I know it's stopped flowing. If they don't look the same, I know it's still flowing downward. So let's flip it in 10 seconds. So we can see here what the ridge looks like. Let's flip. And see here, the ridge is taller. I can see the shadow is a deeper shadow. That way I know it's still flowing. So I guess I gotta sit here and flip some more. It's been about an hour and a half since I first started, and it's pretty much stopped flowing. It's probably flowing very slowly. I've been turning it every 2 minutes for like the last 20, something like that. So I'm gonna call it a wrap. I'll probably turn it every 15, and then tomorrow I'll get the chisel out. No, probably tonight actually. Last time it was 15 hours and it's still soft, so it's 10 now. So at bedtime I'll get the chisel out and smooth it out some. I'd rather smooth it out when it's soft instead of when it's hard, because I don't know what's going to happen trying to chisel out the epoxy when it's hard. And then I'll sand it, and the paddle will be good enough for paddling. I got one more thing I got to do to it, but you'll see that when I do it. It's been more than 24 hours since I applied the epoxy to the tips. That was it. I started at around 9 a.m. yesterday. I didn't thicken it very much because I didn't want to get the lumps, which meant I had a constant battle of coming out and flipping it. First was every minute, then every 90 seconds, then every 2 minutes. I did that till about 1:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, it was pretty boring. At that point, it was mostly thickened, but I turned it every 45 minutes until about 4:30. And around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I came out with the chisel to try and get down the pieces, but that wasn't working. It was still too soft and gooey. I gave up. So this morning at around 8, so 23 hours after I'd started, I went and did the chisel again, and it actually worked out really well. I was pleased. I thought it might be brittle, but I could still cut through it. I didn't get video this morning, so deal with it. I'm going to pause here for a second so you can see two stills. One was how lumpy it looked, and the second was how it looked after the chisel. Okay. And I guess I'll pause again and show some more stills of how four sides looked after the chiseling was done. So I'm going to grab the sandpaper, sanding block, and see how it works. I'm using the 120. I just want to try and get the remaining edges down and remove some of the scuffing. I'm sorry, create scuffing. I don't want to be glossy tips. This is only working so-so. It's getting rid of the sheen, but it's not doing much for the little bits of unevenness that were left. But I think we're going to have to live with it. Let's go to that sandpaper I had the other day, the 80. I'll just wrap it in a block like I did then, see how that works. That's going way too slow. Yeah, that's obviously working a little better. Much of the ridges are gone. I'm trying to go lightly. I don't want to cut through to get at the epoxy again. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna call that done. Well, done for rough. I'm gonna go back and do the 120 and others. You can see right there, probably not, but there was a couple bubbles, and that one is a true bubble. I tried cutting it out, and it just, well, it didn't work. So it's got a bubble. Man, it's almost 90 today. It's hot. I want that to feel good to the hand, because when you're using a Greenland, you'll be holding it there sometimes. It's actually working pretty well. It's falling off again. Let's go to this now and try and get a slightly better looking finish. I'm liking that a lot. Not perfect. But for my first epoxy tips, I'm happy. It's got a bit of a rough spot there. Okay, let's go to a 180 and see how it works. Yeah, there's a tip. These are all come in purple. And once you take them out of the boxes, you don't know exactly what the grid is, so write on it what the grid is. I'm liking how it feels. We'll go to the 220 now. Feels pretty nice. It's not completely flat. I can see ripples in it, but oh well. Oh, you can definitely see shiny spots in the hollows. There's a hollow spot right there. It just glows. Not glows, it reflects. I have no idea which side I'm supposed to use. I'm declaring that done. Let's now cut through the epoxy right on the tape. Try to be careful not to cut the wood, of course. It's hard cutting a straight line. Epoxy's thicker there. Well, I don't want to cut too much, so we'll see how this goes. Let's take this thing off and see what it looks like. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it works. The big reveal is coming. Are there going to be tears or smiles? Having trouble getting the tape all off. Because there's a lot of epoxy there, it seems. But I was careless. Don't be careless, I guess, is the rule here. That's quite a ridge, oh my. So now I've got quite a visible ridge. Let's see what happens if I sand. Take the 220, why not? Of course, that's scuffing up the wood. I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm going to stop the camera now and do the other side. You might think that the paddle is done. It's not. I've got one more secret thing to do. You'll just have to wait for it, though it might be in this video, I don't know. But we're gonna go away and do some paddling, and my wife gets to try this out. She'll be quite excited. Oh, let's go get a close-up. Why not? Looking good to me. Well, here it is. Ready to be paddled. Still one more step to do to it, which you'll see in this video or the next. Maybe I'll make you wait for it. Just check it out. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm pleased at how it turned. Pleased at how it turned out.